Obviously, this is the NBA off season, and this year we've had a bit of history made, right, with the announcement of the new in-season, whatever they're calling it, I don't know, NBA tournament with the winning team raising an NBA Cup. Yeah, is that it? I think that's how it's been coined at the moment. Obviously, down the track, a sponsor will be able to attach a name to that NBA Cup, right? The sponsors NBA Cup or something along those lines. And hey, it's good marketing there for the league, right? I believe that look, I'm not going to go into too much of the specific details. You could Google that if you never heard of this before and you want to learn more. But obviously broken down into group play, all the regular season or these games count as part of the regular season. And then effectively a team that is positioned then to play, in the group top of the group pool in a sense, gets to play the additional semi-final and the grand final game. I believe that's how it's structured, right? And there's prize money attached to those two games. So effectively, you could play like two games and get like $500,000, which is, to a certain extent, play some players, it's not a bad deal. And look, I don't know. I guess my first thought was, well, this is a bit of a joke. That was probably my first thought. But then my second thought was like, well, you know, I guess this is a bit more basketball and I like basketball. So I don't know. I'm a little bit torn. I'm a little bit in the middle here. I'd love to hear which way you're going to swing my vote here. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think you look at when it's positioned. I believe it's happening at the beginning of December. So that's already 6 or 7 weeks into the season. Um, Obviously, they get the big holiday push like Christmas Day games. That's a big one. And then January rolls around, I think Martin Luther King Day. Then it's All Star. So this does help the calendar a bit because there is definitely a weird slog at the start of the season where everyone's feeling each other out. And this gives people a motivation to be competitive. I want to go on two ways with this one. Number one, I'd love to bring back, put it in the link. My team should play each other in the same division for a while at the start of the season and play multiple games in a row to build that and then work towards this moment because you do want that competitiveness. And I think that's a natural way to get it. But this season tournament, 500K, if it gets taxed, half goes to your agent. All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, it's 100K. Look, you offer me 100K to win a basketball tournament, I'll probably try a little bit hard. I'm not going to lie. But for these guys, relative to their salaries, it's probably not great. I do have a suggestion. So this is my part two. After flogging my own video from a while ago, part two. What if the extra thing to really incentivize teams, championship chance? This is ridiculous. All right, it's ridiculous, but is it? Yes, but is it? The winning team allows the ability to take a player from any other team as long as their contract is 5 million or less. So basically, it's like getting a free veteran minimum taxpayer mid-level exception guy. It's about getting one of those players and you just rip them from a team. So Charlotte could win it and be like, well, let's just muck up what the Bucks want to do. And maybe they take somebody. Or maybe, the Lakers are serious and they're like, you know what, we're struggling with the salary cap. We're about to get that. Maybe Phoenix tries really hard because we need an extra free agent and we can get someone on the mid-level exception. What do you think about those kind of stakes in a
I
tournament?
I love your abstract takes, man. I love the ones that also then affect every other team and ruins their championship hopes by stealing another player and something along those lines. That's ultra dramatic, man. And it's so dramatic that clearly will never happen. Like I guess that's and you know that, and you said that at the start. It would definitely be interesting viewing, right? It's like why don't we just have a draft at the end of every season and throw every player in the pool, and LeBron might end up in Orlando next year, right? I don't know. That's the point, right? So, look, I guess you're probably coming back to, is the $500,000 enough incentives for those players to play those extra games? That's probably the point you're trying to make here to a certain extent, is it? Isn't it? And I guess, is $500,000 extra incentive enough for NBA players to play that extra game in an era where, uh, you know, uh, rest management is so critical because players are already, you know, uh, not dressing for key games against, sometimes top teams. It's simply they're looking at a schedule and they're saying this workload is too busy over this course of X amount of days. this game here, you should sit. It's almost irregardless of who they're playing, you're out. You're going to sit out. You take that rest. So I guess it'd be interesting to see how these teams approach this. That okay, it's these players are scheduled to rest. Are they willing to play them in these games because it's a new NBA Cup? And I think the money is almost non-factor here. It's just a little bit of incentive, reward. But I guess it's like, will it be taken seriously by the teams itself and the organizations to be able to field the team, the best rosters for these finals?
Well, I also think there's motivations, right? So a team that's competing for an NBA championship probably does want to take that rest, especially when they get presented an extra game. So they probably won't even try to compete unless I'm really underestimating the competitive spirit of players. But there is some strategic things here where an extra game or two on your schedule is not smart at all. Does it? And here's an extra question. Does it count towards the all NBA stats? Is it going to count towards regular season stats? Like, there's a lot of questions that will obviously get answers as
Well, I
time
think
goes on.
those ones are answered already. So the stats for the games within the tournament, so the first 4 games count towards the regular season and the stats, but the finals obviously do not count towards the regular season and a player's career in that sort of sense because they're additional games. So these are the teams that qualified. You get these extra games, and then obviously that's where that money comes in as a prize.
That's a tricky one because what if a player scores 70 points in one of those games, or like let's go 80 points or 82 points, right, and beats Kobe's record, and then it just doesn't count. It falls in this
Mm.
weird category, similar to the playing game. And this is one of those things that maybe in 50 years' time, when the mid-season tournament is actually a legitimate thing, it's a lot easier to swallow. Maybe we're just struggling to adjust to change, but I really do feel like there needs to be an incentive attached. Like ignoring my preposterous take of taking a player from another team, why can't they get why can't they get a taxpayer exception to do a draft, to do a trade? Why can't they get a top 10 pick with the lowest possible chances of getting the number 1 pick? Like, give them something to compete for as an organization along with the players, because otherwise it is kind of hard to imagine what is the difference between that and a random game in December on a Tuesday night. Because when you try, you're going to get good games. When a player goes up against another player and decides, I'm going to try, it's good drama anyway. This is trying to manifest a scenario, manifest drama. I just don't understand what it's going for. So I feel like there needs to be more. The money's not enough. It's not a 500K prize per player. It is not. We know with salary breakdowns, it's like 150K tops.
No, you're right. You're right. And I guess you raise a few interesting suggestions there. Like I guess I'm going to give maybe a slightly more realistic rebuttal here. That what if your organization won the NBA Cup and earned an additional first round pick? Yeah, you could slot that pick maybe after the lottery at number 16. Yeah. Or in that sort of sense. And I guess first round picks are fairly valuable. That's obviously becomes a pick that you can obviously then trade or keep. And so on and so forth. Look, I guess there's many ways you could go about it. I guess if we sat down there and tried to brainstorm what would be ways you could, make offer a reward or a prize for the winning organization in the NBA Cup, there's probably a way you could do it that might be more creative. And you know what? The NBA player would look at some of those things down the track as it goes along. Right now, it's just a bit of cash attached to it. I guess, like I said, by the time it rolls around to December and those finals in Las Vegas, would these organizations field the best possible teams to win this NBA Cup that they're taking it seriously, or it's just time to rest my top players here? We'll just sit them out, and I guess that would probably be a little bit disappointing for the league. But this is the load management issue they've had all along, isn't it? With the 82 game schedule here, and you're ultimately now giving 2 more teams additional 2 more games on top of that 82 games.
Well, it's really interesting too because we know that 1 and 2 are going to go up against each other. The top 2 teams from the elimination final will play each other. But there is a scenario here where you just let all 30 teams fall into a bracket and then they all just play each other at different brackets, right? So, 29 and 30 play each other and 28 and 27 play each other. And then do you just keep it within the regular season? It's because, then obviously you're going to counter that and say, well, what's the point of them playing each other? And I could hark the same question back. What's the point of you playing an extra game for 1 and 2? We're talking about $500,000. Again, I need to reiterate, it's about 150K that they'll take home if they're lucky, which for, Tyrese Halliburton just comes to mind. He's making 20 million take home. 100K percentile wise is what, 5% of his annual salary? I know I'm way off on that. I know I'm way off on that.
I'm not
2
sure how
million
this
is
podcast
10%.
turned to a mass
2 million is
lesson now, but
10%.
anyway, sure,
1
okay.
million is 5%. 10th of that, it's like 1% of his salary, right? It's fantastic for the guy that makes 150K in the season, but it's not great for them. I think we'll find that in the next 5 years, after 5 years of doing this, there's going to be something extra added on here. There's going to be something that they get because a bit of hardware that no one's going to take seriously because it's not an NBA championship is not going to be sufficient.
Yeah, you're right. But I guess at least for the league, it'll get us talking about this again in December, right? One way or another.
This is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.